The Asset Alliance Group Scottish Rally Championship stayed on the tarmac for round 3 of the 2024 season. The Dunoon presents Argyll Rally. 18 tricky stages over 2 days and unpredictable weather adding up to one of the SRC's biggest challenges. 7 stages would take the competitors into the dusk on the Friday night. Rain and fog, just some of the curveballs for them to deal with. The Friday belonged to Michael Binney and Claire Mole. The Fiesta crew were looking to kick-start their difficult season and were off to a great start, leading by 27 seconds overnight.
Really enjoyable, fantastic, lovely stages, and so far everything seems to be going all right.
Confidence is up?
Yeah, no, I feel good, not thinking about anything, just thinking about driving, which is good. So.
Championship leaders Ewan Thorburn and Paul Beaton endured a tough evening, dealing with both a puncture and losing headlights. Despite the problems, the Polo was second at the end of Friday night.
Yeah, it's been a difficult evening. We got a puncture in one of the stages and we had no spotlights through there, so we're driving completely blind, and that stage is just wild. So,
were you caught in any rain or was it all dry?
No, we've had rain every stage, but that's been the least of our problems, to be honest.
Hugh Brunton and Drew Sturrock led this rally after the first 2 stages in 2023, and they repeated that feat this year. The rest of the night was about survival, out on slicks in the rain, and they were third at the end of the leg.
This time last year I was stuck out on a rock out there watching everybody else go past. No, just survival through there. It was hard. The rain came on really heavy and we were on slicks, so.
Rory Young and Alan Cathers were 9 seconds down on the Fabia at the end of leg 1, the Polo crew surviving the final stage of the night, stuck in 4th gear, after a small bolt failed in the gear linkage. Just 1 second down on the Polo, Mark McCulloch and Michael Hendry had also struggled, the Proton crew having to deal with a mysterious misfire for the majority of the leg. Defying the wet conditions, Greg McKnight and Harry Marchbank were absolutely flying in their Mark II, despite a fuel leak and gearbox issues. Greg quick to thank former British champion Mark Higgins. The Manxman out in a TR7 V8 had helped keep the yellow Mark II in the event by lending Greg and Harry tools to sort their various issues. The Escort was already 22 seconds up on Peter Stewart and Kerry McGilvery. Still learning their new C3, they were showing that they had plenty of potential pace. Six seconds down on the C3, Willie Patterson and Tom Hind were much happier on this rally than they had been at the Jim Clark. Despite being caught in a sudden bank of fog in stage 5, they were really enjoying the stages and were 3 seconds clear of John Wink and Keir Beaton. Wink and Beaton admitted to a couple of nibbles on the edges of the road in the tricky conditions. John still relatively new to tarmac rallying. The I-20 ending leg 1 3 seconds clear of William Hill and Richard Crozier's Rally 3 Fiesta. Second two-wheel drive car overnight, Gordon Morrison and Ian Parker were another crew out on slicks in the wet conditions, the big Escort proving to be a real handful, and they were 10 seconds ahead of Ian Forgan and Chris Lees. Ian and Chris were making their debut in the ex-David Henderson Fiesta, the very car that won the SRC in 2023. They survived the difficult conditions despite being caught in the fog and had plans to make some setup changes overnight. And here's the first big upset. John McCrone was making a return to the SRC with Kirsty Riddick in the Fiesta's hot seat and was the first SRC crew on the road. Unfortunately, an off on the 5th stage cost them a lot of time, but amazingly did little damage. They decided to pull out of the event rather than continue.
Here, slight left over crest into 6 right, 30, 5 left, and 5 right minus in, and 5 left minus over crest, don't go wide, 80. Hold 5 left long, continues over crest, 30. Here middle over crest.
Day 2 and the fog had gone, but the scattered showers were still an issue for the crews to deal with, as they tackled a loop of 6 stages. Binney and Mole continued to lead, but the gap behind them was shrinking, Michael reckoning he was on the wrong tyre, but happy that things were still going well. The Fiesta headed into service with 9 seconds still in hand, after being fastest on the final stage.
Give it the beans, Michael, give it the beans.
Now that they could see, Thorburn and Beaton were on the pipe, closing to within 6 seconds after stage 12. The Fiesta took 3 back on the final stage of the loop, but Ewan was feeling positive about his chances of closing in.
Moved up into third position in the SRC this morning.
Moving into third, Young and Cathers had gears again and had changed the front diff overnight. Much happier with the car, they leapfrogged Brunton and Sturrock over this loop. The Fabia crew not having a good morning, surviving a puncture, and then getting stuck in third in Loch Fyne, weirdly with the same small bolt failure that had plagued Young and Cathers the night before. McCulloch and Hendry were still carrying the misfire, Mark having to work hard to not stall the car in the tight sections. When it was open and fast, they were fine, and still just 13 seconds away from 4th place. McKnight and Marchbank's incredible run continued despite the car's best efforts. The Mark II's clutch failing on this loop, but they still held on to 6th. The Escort now 51 seconds up on Hill and Crozier. The Fiesta crew suffering slightly with an inconsistent flat shift on this loop, and they were also planning a couple of suspension tweaks at service. Only 7 seconds back from the Fiesta, Wink and Beaton were very lucky to be here. Jump on board the I-20 and see for yourself.
60 to 5 left, slippy, and 130 up mid, on you go, to 6 right over crest, 6 left and 6 right over crest, 60 to 6 left over jump, 80 to flat crest, 130 to care, 4 right into grid, 80 over rough, whoa, jump, in here, hook it, right, go.
Amazingly, they were able to carry on, proving the car's toughness.
4 right over grid, 80 over rough and 4 left. See how it feels. It might feel vibrations to 4 left and 6 left over jump, 40 to 4 right over crest.
But that did leave them just 1 second up on Forgan and Lees. The tweaks overnight had worked and they were much happier. Ian learning the new car and getting faster with every mile.
Ian Forgan just these. There's a competition in what's the pedigree of Ian Forgan?
Patterson and Hind were another Fabia crew to have a puncture on this loop, but were still inside the top 10 despite the time loss. They were also caught in a rain shower on the last stage of the loop, but were 29 seconds clear of Morrison and Parker. Montana had made the brave choice of slicks for this loop, but wasn't convinced that it was the right choice in the mixed conditions. The Escort crew were at the head of the Albon Garage Challengers division and were keeping an eye out behind them. Jim Clark winners Johnny Mackay and Rachel Matheson had closed to within 17 seconds. The Evo crew hadn't enjoyed the nighttime, especially when a heavy landing sent the spotlights pointing to the moon. The Saturday was going better, although they weren't quite as happy as they'd been at the Jim Clark.
Right over crest, no cut. Into 5 left, opens, into caution 3 right over big crest. No cut, 4 left, 4 right, no cut. 2 left, into caution 2 right, no cut. Into caution crest, immediate 5 right. 1 left and long 1 right over crest, 3 left, bump. Into small crest, 4 right. 40, tight 6 left, is late. Into 5 right, opens over 1.
Sadly, we had lost another front-runner on this loop, Stewart and McGilvery, falling off the road. Thankfully, without any injury. Five stages would finish the event. Let's take a look at the category winners. With ladies leader Aileen Forrest not in attendance, it was left to Megan O'Kane to take maximum points in the ladies. It was a frustrating event for Megan and her dad John. No intercom on the Friday night set them back, and they were also having issues with the gearbox. The final loop was the cleanest they managed, although it did include a big moment when they landed on the grass verge after a jump. Taking their first Moats Offshore Junior win of the year, Christopher Smith and Amy McCubbin put their tarmac experience to good use, charging to an excellent 49th overall in their 1400 Corsa. Their mull experience really helping them in the tricky conditions. In contrast to a lot of crews, they had a very clean run, really enjoying the challenge of these roads.
Yeah, it was a good weekend, so I've really enjoyed this rally. We have nothing like what we've done before. It's a lot harder. It was good.
It's a long weekend. The stages are really tricky.
Yeah, they're quite hard, especially when the big cars pulling out all the muck onto the road. That made it a bit harder, but it was enjoyable. Really enjoyed the weekend.
Good. So you'll be tired now after a recce and two hard days of rallying.
Aye, but it's still a good weekend. Home and get a Chinese now.
Gordon Murray and Peter Carstairs took a third Haddo Energy Super Seniors win of the year. After a good run on the Friday night, they saved all their issues for the Saturday morning. A flat battery and a wire parting company with the starter motor saw them running quite far back on the road and catching cars on every stage of the final loop. Despite it all, they still managed 40th overall. In the groundwater lift truck's Subaru Cup, there was a nice battle developing between Jordan Anderson and Barry Young, and Rob Cotton and Ethan Kidd. Unfortunately, Anderson and Young would roll out of the event on the Saturday morning, leaving Cotton and Kidd as last crew standing. They didn't make it easy for themselves, a heavy landing damaging the exhaust, causing a coolant leak and damaging the wiring loom. They managed to seal the radiator with a mix of eggs and Lucozade, and Rob bent the exhaust back to protect the loom from further damage.
After we were battling with Jordan Anderson, then after he went out, we sort of had it sealed, and then was it 3 or 4 stages from the end when the manifold broke? We lost all boost pressure, and then it started to overheat and started to misfire, and it was smoking like it was on fire, and I thought it was literally going up in smoke, but we just about managed to bodge it and get to the end somehow.
Well, you're still smiling, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a smile of relief.
Thank you very much for that information. Craig Wallace, right on the one. Car 21.
Greg McKnight, first in the two-wheel drives.
Yes.
He's currently sitting 8th overall.
There was a final sting in the tail for McKnight and Marchbank, the Escort's engine letting go in a big way on the last loop. A sad end to an absolutely fantastic drive. Moving up on the final loop, Craig Rutherford and Ian Fraser were showcasing their progress in the Mark II Escort this year. The only blemish on a good weekend was a tiny misfire off the start lines on the final loop. They ended up just 11 seconds down on Mackay and Matheson. With the rhythm not quite being there, Johnny and Rachel consolidated what they had over the final loop, conscious not to do any damage to the car. They still ended up second in the Albon Garage Challengers as their solid season continues. Patterson and Hind survived a 100-mile-per-hour off in stage 15, which incredibly didn't put them out of the rally. Both Willie and Tom wide-eyed at the finish, amazed at what they got away with. Finally on the right tyre for the final loop, Morrison and Parker were delighted at the finish. The Grey Mark II taking the honours in both the G&M Mechanical Services two-wheel drives and the Alban Garage Challengers. Gordon reckoning the secret weapon was the team's new catering manager.
One pot of paint did all.
Oh, it's been brilliant, it's fantastic. Ian's been doing a great job in the notes. Big Murray and Angus done a great job looking after the car, so and she's away home in one piece, so I'm fair chuffed for that.
We got quite a good rhythm going today. I had to change my helmet halfway through. I lost an intercom one of the stages, so but no, it was brilliant. Just glad to go over Whistlefield twice again because it's the best stage in the country, I think. But no, it was really enjoyable. Everything's worked well and the old car's done fine.
And oh, by the way, I need to say a wee thanks to Brian Watson for doing all the cooking this weekend. I think we'll all have the craps, but
over jump to 5 right over bumps 40 to 5 left into caution 4 right over jump into 5 left over drop jump 100 to long 5 left opens to 6 over crest 60 to long test into fast 4 right and 5 left over crest 80 and tight 4 right narrows 80 to tight 4 right and short 3 left over jump 40 to 5 left nips.
After their big moment, Wink and Beaton were in safety mode for the rest of the event, determined to finish without more damage. The I-20 crew ending the event just 13 seconds away from McCulloch and Hendry. The misfire was finally traced to a corrupted engine map, AG Motorsport able to remotely sort the issue. Unfortunately for the Proton crew, they would clip a rock in Bielach and split a wheel, forcing a mid-stage stop. 7th was still a good salvage job.
Yeah.
He's a very smooth driver, having sat with Mark for a couple of years. Even on the gravel he was really clean and tidy.
Hill and Crozier were 12 seconds up the road. The Rally 3 Fiesta overhauled on the final loop by a flying Forgan and Lees. Ian and Chris putting on a charge to grab 5th by just 3 seconds at the finish. Despite all of their issues, Brunton and Sturrock still salvaged a 4th place, a good reward for their perseverance after a difficult start to the 2024 season. But the drama wasn't over yet. After their brilliant drive all weekend, a heavy landing would cause Binney and Mole's engine to cut out twice on the second last stage. The time loss dropped them to 3rd at the finish, but they were still feeling positive about their return to top form.
This is Michael Binney now, I think.
So it should be.
Oh, Michael's still committed there, isn't he?
Yeah, we've had a really good couple of days, to be fair. Yep. After all the work that's gone into the car, it's ran pretty much fault-free. Unfortunately, the car cut out twice on the second last stage, so it was a stop and reboot. So we ended up losing a minute there, which cost us second. But really pleased. To be fair, I wasn't expecting to even get to the finish with how things have been going. So yeah, over the moon with the result.
We came here wondering if we had the reliability. We've got to the second last stage and a little issue, but it's how it happens, isn't it? But we've thoroughly enjoyed it. Stages have been amazing. The organisation's been really good.
Capitalising on the Fiesta's issues, it was another good Argyll finish for Young and Cathers, backing up their win from last year. The final loop was very good for the Polo crew, happy with the setup and enjoying the challenging stages.
Surprised, I think, to be honest. If you told us this last time when we finished last night, yeah, quite surprised actually. It's always a long event at Argyll, isn't it? You never really know what's going to happen, and it was not a great start for us last night. We had a few problems, but hey, just stuck in. And to be fair, there's been other people who've had problems that we've benefited from. But yeah, the car's been awesome today to drive. It's been so much fun. Alan's been great. And we've just had good fun. It's been great.
It has been a good weekend, yeah. As I say, we weren't without our problems, but we just sort of got on with it and really enjoyed the stages, and we got better and better, and I think that showed in the stage times. So yeah, it's a technical event and it really makes you work.
But 51 seconds up at the finish, Thorburn and Beaton finally hit the front in stage 16, their job made easier with Binney and Mole's issues. Both Ewan and Paul happy with how things had gone, especially with this being Ewan's first visit to these stages. The polo crew strengthening their position at the top of the championship standings.
Yeah, it started off pretty tough last night. We had a few issues, but then today we just kept our noses clean, just kept chipping away, and times were pretty good in the end. So yeah, delighted to get the win. Stages are wild over here. There's someone else. First time I've done it, so yeah, it was good. Nice to do some different stages in Scotland. Doesn't happen very often. So Paul done a great job. Car never missed a beat. So yeah, good weekend.
Ewan can drive a car, that's for sure. And after a few trials last night, we kind of were up against it today, but yeah, pulled out of the bag and really had a good push all day really. Maybe the odd one or two dud stage we had, but yeah, it was good. It was enjoyable.
So Thorburn and Beaton become the first two-time winners this season. Up next, the championship returns to the loose with the RSAC Scottish Rally.